Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services in Eastland, Texas. Tune in every week as we share important information to help you and your family live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, legacy and tax planning, and much more, all covered now on Life Planning 101.
Good morning and welcome to Life Planning 101. My name is Angela Robinson with Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services out of the big town of Eastland, Texas, where since 1989, our mission is to help people live life on purpose. And yes, we did coin that before the purpose-driven life was written. I mean, I didn't personally coin that. I was a small girl at that time. But my dad did, right? We are a second-generation firm, and our purpose hasn't changed for many, many years. And that is what we want to deliver each and every week to all of our listeners right here on Life Planning 101. Good information, good education, so that you can live a life on purpose instead of the alternative, which is by default. So, I've got a fun one today. We're not going to talk about taxes. We're not even going to talk about finances. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about wealth a little bit, but we're going to talk about something that is foundational to your life, something that can move mountains. No, we're not even going to talk about God, although he really can move mountains, but we are going to talk about the real 80-20 rule, the real 80-20 rule. Now, this isn't the 80-20 rule that you think you know, okay? In fact, I do want to tell you about the one you think you know, okay? And here's why I want to tell you about it. So I actually was looking this up, okay, so I've always heard this all my life that, 80% of consequences come out of 20% of causes. Where the heck does that come from? I mean, how does that apply all over your life? All over. I mean, this is something that we just throw around in society, like this thing, this expertise, this must be some very high-powered historical evidence in every area of life for this to apply. Well, if you don't know this already, it actually comes from a gentleman named Vilfredo Pareto. Yes, he was Italian. He was an economist, and it was in 1896 that he observed this principle. And this principle, since 1896, has been something that we hear thrown around nonchalantly forevermore, whether it be in business, health, wealth. See, I told you we're going to talk a little bit about it, but the implication is that if we put in 20% of the work, then 80% of the outcome will come out of that, right? In other words, you put in a small amount of effort and it has huge outsized effects of it. Where did he get this? Well, here's where he got this, okay? Because I think this is really important to understand. And I'm just going to fair warn you, you might call this rule poppycock by the time that we get through with this. So he observed, his first observation was that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the population. This is not a joke, guys. This is where this started from, okay? Then he went to his garden, and 20% of the plants were bearing 80% of the fruit. So this mathematical thing he started to see, he started to put out there as, is this really happening? And went on to do research in other lands and this and this and this and this. It really had nothing to do with business, health, or wealth, yet here we are. Here we are. Well, I guess wealth it did if you owned 80% of the land, but not in the way that you hear it used all the time. And I just thought, wow, that's crazy. As I started researching this and understanding, okay, that makes little to no connection in how we throw around things today. Now, take it for granted, I am the worst person of messing up sayings. We all know this. I think my renowned saying that I said on Life Planning 101 was, yep, she's the kind of girl that grabs a bull by the, and it wasn't the horns. Okay, so the truth be known is that, yes, things get turned, and maybe it's like that game of gossip when you play as a kid and you whisper in someone's ear, and then by the time it gets to the other end of the circle, the story's completely changed. And that's the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule as we know it today. Perhaps that's what it is. I don't know. But I will tell you what got me started on today's show was not that. I'm in awe as I started researching this. No, I found this really cool list last night I was scrolling, yes. And by the way, I just want to give a life hack here. We scroll, we see all this bad news, or we see all these things happening. It's hard sometimes to, stay excited about life and not become, really it's two-sided, right? You can't just like bury yourself in a hole. I guess you can, and just not pay attention at all to anything going on around you. I cannot. I have to see what's going on around us and understand what our economic environment is, our political environment is, world scene environment, all these different things. And so in order to do that, I have to do quite a bit of research, and sometimes that gets a little dismal. So in my scrolling, I add in awesome things. I have God in there a lot. I get all kinds of quotes and scriptures and things that I can just stop and pause and ponder on, and I make it an effort to do that. I have motivational things in there that I can stop and ponder on or try to apply the next day or give to our team. I also have animal funnies. I love animals. I have horses and dogs and unfortunately a stray cat. But yes, we have, I say unfortunately, it's really sweet. Goats. Goodness, we've got it all. Chickens, Kaka and Doo. We lost Doodle. But the point being here is that you have to kind of keep that lighthearted in your life, right? You got to be able to have some type of balance. But I digress. That's not why we're here today. But I did hit something really awesome last night that I want to share with you. And it's an 80-20 rule that, in my mind, actually makes sense. Doesn't need a whole lot of research or evidence behind it. And I think you're going to find that why when we come back. But I'm also going to couple that with another 80-20 rule that we have used for a long time that is nothing like the Pareto principle. So I've got two new 80-20 rules that work in tandem with one another. And I think you're going to walk away today with some really awesome thoughts on how to set out and continue to live life on purpose. You're not going to want to miss this Life Planning 101. Welcome back to Life Planning 101. My name is Angela Robinson with Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services. Be sure to visit us online, www.kennedy, that's just spelled like the president, KENNEDY-financial.com. We are talking about the real 80-20 rule. If you missed the first segment, you basically missed how the 80-20 rule, as you might know it, might be a little bit more poppycock in the way that you use it than you think it is. But don't worry, we're going to give you two new 80-20 rules that work in tandem with each other. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we set out in 1989 to help people live life on purpose. That has been a constant in our business, and it has not changed to this day, including this episode of Life Planning 101. So that is our goal, is to help you walk away today and have a little bit more purpose as you live life instead of just living by default, not knowing, giving you education, information that you can persist with. So as before the break, as I promised, I've got this list that I came across last night, and it had this 80-20 rule is what it said. And then it had all these things, and it said health, 80% eating, 20% exercising. But that's good. Wealth, 80% habits, 20% math. Yes, we get hired all the time to do the math, but really what we set out to do is help people create and maintain good disciplines, good habits, not only for them, but for us, because we know that our disciplines have taught us to be comfortable in any given time if we just follow them. Yeah, it's powerful. 80% habits, 20% math. I have to say, that is the one that said, this is going on Life Planning 101 tomorrow. But there's more. Talking, 80% listening. Yes, I said talking. 80% listening, 20% speaking. Learning, 80% understanding, 20% reading. We live in a society today where we're in a hole. And I mean, obviously I'm a very spiritual person. I think that's where the devil wants us to be, is literally just caved up and not talking to anybody, scrolling and reading and doing our own research and not understanding one another. Because if we don't understand one another, then we can't have a relationship. But that's the world that we're living in today. And yes, you can do your research. You could Google anything out there. And I'm going to tell you, it's a very dangerous world to be Googling, especially with AI, and you don't know what is real and what is not real. 80% does come from understanding what you read. And we are always talking about knowledge giving people power. It empowers you to make good decisions about your future, good decisions about your money. And it's paramount. You have to have that understanding. So I totally agree with that. Achieving. Here's another one. I love this. 80% doing, 20% dreaming. Man, I was a dreamer when I was younger. Still a dreamer, but I do a lot more today. So isn't that truth? And I think that all young people need to see that. Happiness. This one I love. 80% purpose, 20% fun. Money doesn't buy happiness. Money buys fun. Sometimes. I don't know. Good game. Sitting around the dinner table is plenty of fun for me. A night in the arena with the horses is plenty of fun for me. But most importantly, I want my kids to grow up and know Jesus. That's purpose, right? 80% purpose, 20% fun. Relationships. This is another good one. 80% giving, 20% receiving. You know, we talk about spending your money, and really these two last things are what you should spend your money on. We talk about spending money. You spend money on things and the newness wears off. Think about it. Last time you bought a vehicle, when did the newness wear off of your vehicle? You might love your vehicle, but it wasn't like when you got it, right? But what about spending your money on that experience that you got to have with your family? Or you gave money. That's a gift that gives, right? Same works when you're in a relationship. You got to give to receive, but you got to give to be happy and have a good relationship. 80% giving, 20% receiving. Improving, 80% persistence and 20% ideas. Okay, so we got to have ideas. Yep, what worked, what didn't work, and let's figure out the next way to move forward. But dang it, you fall down, you get up, and you never, ever, ever give up. Now, I may have told this story once before on the show, but I'm going to tell it again because it's one of my favorites. So my oldest son, he was little bitty, and we've always tried to go skiing once a year. You know, we're Texans, so that's about all we can do. But we are a skiing family, and so we started him out at the ripe old age of 2. And I think he was 3. I think it was the second year we went. My dad was with us. We were on the bunny slope. And he's going down bunny slope, and there's obviously lots of new people learning. And there's this, you could tell this gal, teenage gal, and her boyfriend are there, and he's kind of trying to show off, and he crashes. Well, the whole time that we had been headed up the mountain, we kind of put a theme in our son's head. We said, you know, if you fall down, it's just snow. It's going to be soft, and it's just snow. You just need to get back up, you know. So you fall down, what do you do? Get back up. Fall down, what do you do? Get back up. So as he's going by, this guy crashes, and girlfriend's trying to help him get up and everything else. And Seeley, being the sweet kid that he is, tells him what he needs to know. Fall down, get up. Right there in front of his girlfriend. Oh, the guy was embarrassed. You could totally tell. But isn't that true? Isn't that a life lesson? Persistence. Fall down, get up. Never, ever, ever give up. Now, I don't know about you, but hearing those, the health, wealth, talking, learning, achieving, happiness, relationships, improving, that is an awesome 80-20 rule. If you want happiness, live life on purpose, not by default. If you want wealth, create and maintain good habits. If you want to be a better father, if you want to be a better sister, a mother, a friend, give. If you want to improve, never, ever give up. Now that I've motivated you, I mean, I probably should have taken a lesson from a SEAL or something, but let's stop in a minute. Okay? This all sounds great. It is energizing. It is motivating. Reading it does get you kind of hooked in. But then you start to really think about it or digest it or put it into action, and change is not easy. If it's 80% eating that affects your health, habits of what your diet look like are not easy to fix. If 80% of your wealth is affected by your disciplines and your habits, that's not something you just do overnight, right? These are not things that you could just, okay, let's make a change and make a turn. It's hard. It's hard. And it's even harder to stay hooked. Number one, it's hard to set out a plan. You probably need help. But number two, it's harder to stay hooked because defeat will happen. Yes, you heard me right. It will happen. You will fall down. You will fail. And that's when you know that you have a choice. You can say it's final, or you can say, well, it's not fatal. Winston Churchill famously said, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So with that, when we come back on Life Planning 101, we're going to give you a second 80-20 rule that's going to work in tandem with the first, and it's not going to make all this look so intimidating. You're not going to want to miss it when we come back. Welcome back to Life Planning 101. My name is Angela Robinson with Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services. We've been talking about a real 80-20 rule today. If you've missed this show, go back, start over, listen to it. It's too dang good. It applies to everybody, unless you just want to live life by default and you just want things to happen and just be, right? But if you want to live a life on purpose, this is the show for you, because it really doesn't matter what area that you're struggling in or what area that you want to improve in. There's some really awesome tips in here. And I want to start out this last segment because we talked about two 80-20 rules. We talked about the first, and we talked about the second working in tandem with the first. And the second one is what we're about to hit right now. And I just want to preface this that I am a mom. We run a business. We have two kids, 8 and 11 and a half years old, almost 12, going on like 18. And, well, really 3 kids, because I have my husband too, right? That counts. But we have animals. We have a huge busy life, right? And I was reading this morning that this lady had walked up to the front desk where she was going that morning for her appointment, and she gasped and said, "I forgot my dog." Well, she forgot to bring her dog to the vet. So I can relate to that. We are so busy at this season of life, and making changes to accomplish things or to live life on purpose, to work on the areas that we need to work on, are hard enough just because of the time in the day and the energy and the focus that you need to be able to do those things, right? And we talked about that, in the previous segment, that change is not easy, period. It sounds great. You hear all these things that, oh man, my health is 80% eating and 20% exercising. Well, that means I just need to work on my diet. Sounds great, but it's really hard to stay hooked because defeat happens. I mean, the first time that you decide to take your grandkids out for ice cream, you think, oh, well, I can have a bite too. And then you think you failed, and then you give up. So why is it? Because here's the deal, okay? What is one ice cream cone? Why is it that we have to feel like we have to achieve perfection? It's not about perfection. I had a great coach named Dr. Rhodes years ago, John Rhodes, and we still use his life scorecard, which, by the way, is on our website in our tools, www.kennedy-financial.com. Great little tool to use to actually help you figure out what areas you want to be focusing on first, because we're going to get to that about prioritizing all this, because in my situation, there's like 5 of these I need to work on more immediate than not. But he talked about, it's not perfection. It's about progress. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. So I'm going to give you an 80-20 rule that's going to help you with that. So let's just look at those latter rules and take one to heart. Maybe you want to work on your health, your wealth, your communication, your learning, your achieving, happiness, your relationships, your improving, whatever that is. What is it that you need to work on? And let's just say that you set some goals in that way. And you don't meet 100% of your goals. After all, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. You probably aren't. If you do, it's an anomaly. We just talked about why that is. But let's say that you get 80% there. I mean, that's doable. That's doable. Okay? So if you have an 80% success rate, society tells you, you failed. But you didn't. Because you're not done. Your next step is to reset your goal and repeat that 80% success rate. Think about it. If you achieve 80% of your goal the first time, and then you've got 20% to get to that goal, right? 20% left on that goal. And you achieve 80% of that 20% left on your goal, well, 80% times 20% is 16%. So if you tack that on to the first 80%, you're 96% there to your goal. And if you aren't satisfied with 96%, just do it again. Because you got 4% left, 80% of 4%, you're now at 99.2%. So here's the deal. Since 1989, like I mentioned, our mission has been to help people live life on purpose. It has never been to help people live a life of perfection. For one thing, like we said, it doesn't exist. Second, I don't know too many people that wouldn't be happy with obtaining 96% or 99.2% of their health goal or their wealth goal or their relationships goal, right? So the key is this. You just got to set the goal and you got to set out to get it. What 80-20 rule do you need to work on? Which of those categories do you need to work on? Maybe you do need to prioritize. Go to that life scorecard. Get help. We're here to help. Just do me a favor and don't not do anything. Because here's what I can guarantee. And I can't guarantee much with our compliance department telling us we can't have guarantees, right? 80% of zero is always zero. My name is Angela Robinson with Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services. The real 80-20 rule right here on Life Planning 101. Do us a favor, share this with the people that you have in your life because everybody needs to have this. Everybody needs to be able to work on their goals in a healthy way that they can move forward and have confidence. And that is what this is for, is to help you have confidence so you can live life on purpose. God bless you. Have a great week and join us right here again next week on Life Planning 101.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services. If you have questions, you can email them to lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. Don't forget to learn how our sister company can assist you with all of your tax, bookkeeping, and consulting needs. You can find out more at briscoeandassociates.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more Life Planning 101. The opinions expressed herein are those of the firm and are subject to change without notice. The opinions referenced are as of the date of publication and are subject to change due to changes in the market or economic conditions and may not necessarily come to pass. Any opinions, projections, or forward-looking statements expressed herein are solely those of the author, may differ from the views or opinions expressed by other areas of the firm, and are only for general informational purposes as of the date indicated. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Smart Money Group LLC. Kennedy Financial Services and Smart Money Group LLC are separate entities and are not owned or controlled by Calton & Associates Incorporated.